For a long time, I treated my debt like it didn't exist. I didn't open my banking apps. I definitely wouldn't open any letters that came through the door. But when me and my partner started talking about moving in together and sharing some bills and talking about our finances more, I knew I couldn't hide from it any longer. So I now have 5 things that I do every single week that have started to move me in the right direction for getting rid of my debt. They've completely changed my mindset, and the habits that I'm doing every single day have moved me in the right direction over the past 6 months. Change number 1 in my life was assigning money before I spent it. For so long, I was incredibly reactive with my money. As soon as I wanted something, I would go and buy it and then try to figure out where that money was going to come from. And 9 times out of 10, that just came from credit cards and acquiring more and more debt over time. I've started to use YNAB to assign money a job as soon as it hits my bank account. Rather than spending and at the end of the week trying to work out how much money I have left, now I proactively allocate jobs to the money, and if the money's not there for the thing I want to buy, I don't buy it. Or I have to decide to take money from a different priority that I've already put that money towards. So if I want to go out for a meal, I have to decide to not spend money on a new pair of shoes, for example. Lots and lots of people talk about having a budget, but when they talk about having a budget, it's all in the past. They look at the last month and look at how much money they've spent. Very rarely do you ever hear people talking about allocating money ahead of time so that you can then keep within those means. And change 2 was a critical habit in making sure that this stayed true. Change number 2 is all about my lunches. This is a daily thing that I was spending lots of money on. I'd go to work not taking anything with me, and when it came to the middle of the day and I was really hungry, I had to make a decision about where to get food from. I was budgeting based on getting a meal deal every single day, but actually when it came to it each day when I was hungry in the middle of the day, I normally ended up at KFC, McDonald's or Subway. It was convenience food, it was quick, but it was quite expensive. I ended up spending about £25 to £30 a week just on my lunch food. Whereas now I meal prep and batch cook every Sunday, pop it into my lunchbox, take that with me every day, and that is saving me an absolute ton over the course of a year. It might sound incredibly simple, but for someone like me that wasn't thinking about their finances, this has made a massive change to my life. Change 3 with money in my life was about being honest. For so long, I'd hidden my debts away from other people, but I knew that in order to move forward and be able to share my life with someone, I would have to be honest even about the bits of my life that I wasn't that keen on. So I sat down with my partner and I explained the whole situation. I explained how much debt I was in, what my plan was for getting rid of it, and whether there was anything that she could do to help me. I wasn't asking for a handout of money. What I was asking for was support, mainly emotional, and for also being an accountability partner in that if we were talking about dinners and I suggested getting a takeaway, she could at least challenge it and say, maybe we don't need to do that. Maybe we could go and get something from the shop instead. This was probably the most difficult change because it really pushed me out of my comfort zone. In the UK, we don't like to talk about money other than to talk about what it has got us, the experiences, the cars, the clothes that we get to buy. If we can materialistically put something in front of someone and say, look, I was able to buy this, we love talking about money. If it's a struggle or something that we're not quite handling in the best way, we try to hide it away from people as a bit of a status measure. So opening up to my partner and saying, look, I'm not in the best position, but I've got a plan and I'm working towards it was really difficult. But she came back to me with such compassion that it meant I was able to share more and more with her. And now she's one of my biggest cheerleaders when it comes to actually paying off that debt, which has been massive and such a boost to the process. Change 4 is the reviewing process. So as I said before, I would very rarely engage in my finances. I wouldn't open my banking apps. I wouldn't look at any letters that came through the door. So actually I didn't know how much I was spending each week. Now, at the end of each week, I have a look at how much money I've spent in comparison to how much I'd actually planned to spend. see where those differences lie, and then at the end of each month I can use YNAB to actually see how much I'm paying off for certain things, as well as how much money I'm putting towards priorities that I've set at the beginning of the month. For example, if I want to spend more time with friends and family, there will be a category for that in my YNAB. Now, it's not always completely accurate. More money doesn't mean more time, but I can start to see I've spent more money on friends and family activities rather than getting a takeaway on my own. And that has been a key thing for not only making sure I'm staying on the course, but also for making sure that I'm seeing the progress that I'm making. I'm able to look back a couple of months and see the difference between then and now with my spending, and that is huge for keeping the motivation levels up. The fifth change I've made in my life is looking ahead and looking at what money can do for me. For so long, I've been reactive with my money, and so it was pretty pointless actually looking any further than a couple of days ahead because I knew I wouldn't have the money anyway. Whereas now I'm able to look ahead to Christmas, to people's birthdays, and more importantly for us, looking ahead at when I can start putting some money towards a house deposit. A year ago, this was completely unthinkable, but the changes that I've made over the past 6 months mean that I do have some money aside at the end of each month that I can put away into a high interest savings account or an ISA that will start to work for me. So when it comes to needing that money in the future or putting a house deposit down, I will have a chunk of money available rather than needing to be reactive at that time when the sum of money is so much greater than the few pounds here and there I was using to pay for food on a daily basis. So why am I telling you all this? I'm telling you this because, like I said, a year ago, this all felt impossible to me. I spent every day avoiding my banking apps and just waiting for someone to come knocking at the door to call in the debt. Whereas now I'm proactively looking ahead, seeing when I can pay more towards my debt, as well as having things in place to make sure that my day-to-day habits lead me towards the right goal. I'm making this video to show that it is possible. There are so many people on YouTube that are talking about times when they were in debt and now they're not. I'm still in it right now. I'm still working towards my goal, but I've taken the first few steps, and I'm hoping that this gives you the opportunity to also make that start. Because it's not an impossible task. It might just be a little bit difficult. I can't tell you how much easier my life and my relationships feel now that I don't have this big weight of money on my shoulders. Every day when I knew that there wasn't very much money in my bank, I was worried whether going into the supermarket and scanning or tapping my card would result in a message on the screen and everyone would know that my card got declined. Whereas now, because I only go to the supermarket when I've got the money available, I know that the money is there. I know that when I want to go and buy a new top, for example, the money's already assigned to that. I don't need to feel guilty about it. I've taken the emotion out of the money completely and turned it more into a logical frame of mind. I'm able to look at it ahead of time, assign my money, and work towards my goals. If you'd like to hear more about how I'm getting on with my journey and the steps that I'm taking to make sure that I work towards my goal, please let me know in the comments down below, and also subscribe to my channel. If you would like to see my exact YNAB setup, how I use it, and what I do at each paycheck, also let me know. That could be a really useful video for you and for other people. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope to see you next time.